Good evening. Welcome to the City of Post Falls Park and Rec Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, March 28th, 2023. Excuse me. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. If you have a cell phone, please be sure it's off. And if you need to take a call, step out. Roll call.
Hale.
Present.
Cornwell.
Present.
Dusick.
Present.
Noyes.
Present.
Varanich. Snyder.
Present.
Zebelwolf.
Present.
All right. Any amendments to the agenda today?
There are none.
Or none? Ceremonies, announcement, appointments, and presentations.
We have none.
None? Perfect. Declaration of conflict? Hearing none. Approval of minutes for February 28th, 2023.
I would move to approve the minutes for February 28, 2023 as presented.
I second that.
Zebelwolf.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Dusick.
Abstain?
Noyes.
Aye.
Cornwell.
Aye.
Hale.
Aye.
All right. Any citizen issues that we're aware of? Nope. All right. Unfinished old business. We'll start with the Falls Park Pond.
Good evening, members of the Parks and Rec Commission. Brian Myers, Parks Manager. Just as a kind of a review of where we're at and what's going on at Falls Park, we had in the summer of 2021, we reached out to Idaho State Department of Agriculture's, the individual that runs the weed program basically for invasive pests. To come look at our pond because we've got milfoil that's prevalent in that pond. That was the primary reason we were reaching out, and upon that, their visit to the site, we also discovered we had Asian mystery snails, which are currently not a regulated invasive pest, but they are not native to our waterways and pose a problem in our fisheries and such. So we came up with a strategy for that fall to drain the ponds down, go through and harvest the snails, as well as some other cultural practices to try to mitigate the milfoil issue before we raised the pond back up in 2022. Raised the pond up in spring of 22, drained it back down real quick, or in pretty short order, did another round of picking snails, went through the summer season. Last year we found that we had really pretty effective mitigation measures on the milfoil. So that was positive. But in doing so, we were able to see just how big our snail problem was in the pond. That last fall we worked with, again, Idaho State Department of Agriculture. They worked through a confluence project program that reached us out to local high school students. So we had a group of over 70 students come down to the pond. The Confluence project provided hip waders for these kids to go out and wade around in the mud, which was a sight to be seen, as you might imagine. And those students had the opportunity to also provide some report and the like on what they were seeing, some of the ethics behind it and their evaluation of that, and really get a firsthand experience with what invasive pests, how difficult it is to manage those in environments like a pond, or if they were to move into our waterways. From there, our staff did a remaining picking as much as we could. We figure we were probably in the 3,000 snails harvested in that one-day event or, you know, two days worth of work. And we know we aren't getting them all. As soon as we drain the pond down, they start burrowing under the mud layer, and we have limited access to them. So that's kind of the problem that we're faced with. Coming up in the next 2 weeks, we've got a meeting again with Idaho State Department of Agriculture, Idaho Fish and Game, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Avista Utilities, their restoration biologist, and then the cultural and recreation folks that are involved with our lease and the management of the park and ownership of the park. We're going to be discussing what our management approach for 2023 is and determining what that might look like. Among the options that we're considering are leaving the pond drained down for the season to try to limit you know, the habitat for these critters to be able to thrive. The other potential with that is by having less surface area, it may allow some of our other potential mitigation efforts through chemical controls to be treated on a smaller water body, which would reduce the cost. So the mechanical means is still an option, still likely to be implemented through the picking efforts that we've been doing, but we're seeing very limited success with that. So, you know, that's probably less likely that we see that as a sole means to managing this environment. Beyond that, we're looking at 2 primary chemical control applications. One's a copper sulfate product that we're seeing some debate within other agencies or you know, scientists saying whether or not it actually can control Asian mystery snail. There's some evidence that it may help, but most of these places that has been applied are open water bodies. They're not in a controlled environment like what we have at this pond. So, you know, we're in a little bit of a different situation. One of the negatives that we have going for us is we've got a pretty deep mud layer at the bottom of this pond, which is favorable for the snails to escape from being in contact with this chemical. The other option is basically a pool chlorine type product, and that would be a treatment throughout the entire summer season. It also would help out with the milfoil, whatever's remaining there. So that's kind of where we're at. Don't have answers on exactly what that will look like, but wanted to prepare you should we not have that pond filled this summer, because it's very likely that that would be a question that you would gain or, you know, be asked what's happening with the pond. Beyond that, just the education piece that, you know, invasive or what may just seem like your pet that you don't want to flush down the toilet or, you know, dispose of otherwise when you're ready to be done with your aquarium at home. When it enters our local water bodies or, you know, like this, our fishing ponds, they can become major problems to address in the community and our local waters. So, you know, trying to use that as an educational and teaching tool. Thankfully, to our knowledge, it's located only into our individual pond and hasn't made the Spokane River. Hopefully, we can keep it there. But you know, with that, I'll stand for questions.
If I could add just one more item, just so you're aware that our annual fishing derby, we have canceled it for this year. We have to work at such a long timeline that we didn't want to advertise and not have something available. So,
is there any like fish that eat these things?
Not in our water bodies that we know of. Yeah, it's pretty. There's pretty tough shale on them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you.
And now an update for the landing, rail extension.
Good evening, Robbie Quinn, Parks Planner. Just a quick update on a little bit more construction that'll be taking place down on the landing site over the next probably couple weeks to a month. So last year we kind of partnered with Avista in installing a grab line closer to the dam, which you can see kind of right here across the water. Basically, it's kind of a last resort for anyone that's ends up in the water. They can try to grab onto this before they get into the dam. So in doing that, they ended up putting an anchor on our side of the park, and then one on kind of their islands over here. So basically, it's just a big concrete pier with kind of a winch on it. And so the hazard was the cable that just kind of runs about 4 feet high, kind of on, clotheslining height for anyone who's not really paying attention. Not that it's an active area, but you never know with people running around. So temporarily we have this safety fence up, but a permanent solution, what we're going to be doing is basically extending the railing that's already there. We wanted to have kind of cohesive effect of the style and the aesthetics of the site. So we partnered with the Vista on that. So from here, they're kind of going to jog back 4 or 5 feet off the path just because we have power running right along the path. So, and then there's kind of some paint on the ground. It'll kind of wrap around this contraption and pretty close to the top of the slope here. So people will still could potentially get over there, but at least they won't be running through and, clotheslining themselves. And yeah, other than that, there'll be a man gate kind of in this area just for access to the electrical panels for maintenance and such. But yeah, we thought it was just to give you a heads up that there'll be some construction happening down there over the next few weeks. So, any questions? All right, thank you.
All right, new business, election of officers for 2023.
Yes, it's that time of the year again, and just to go over the process of how we do it for our commissions. You may nominate one or more candidates. They need to accept that nomination, so you can't railroad somebody. And then the commission will vote on the candidate. And we will start with the chairperson position first, and then the vice chairperson second. If a new candidate is selected, then they would start at the next meeting. So you may retain, you may select new, but it is open.
The candidate has to be present, right?
They
Or
have to
accept.
They have to accept.
Okay. Do we know about Christy at this time?
Yes, she is shared interest.
Okay, perfect.
If selected, she would be more than willing to take that on.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, she had a pre-planned family vacation, so she contacted us immediately to let us know that she would be willing to serve.
Perfect.
With that said, I'd like to nominate Christy for that position, the chair position.
I second that.
Yeah.
So, other nominations, or?
Are you not interested in serving again as chair? So, say traditionally, we have in the past where the chair and vice chair have served like 2 or 3 years in a row.
Executive, okay.
So
I'm willing to serve if given the opportunity, but if Christy wants to step up, but I'm more than happy to serve again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just to make it interesting, I'd nominate Gina as chair as well.
I would second that.
Make it real interesting.
This doesn't happen too often. So you can make me work on the fly. We could do it 2 ways. We could call each name, or we could have just a roll call and you name who your vote is for. I'm open to suggestions. So we could call for Gina and then call for Christy, or we can just go down the line and tally it up.
Just go down the line,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just make it easy.
It comes out the same way. It's a little quicker.
And this is for chairman, right?
This is for chair.
Cornwell,
Gina.
Noyes,
Gina.
Duzick,
Gina?
Snyder,
Gina.
Z. Bellwolf,
Gina.
Hale,
Gina.
See what happens when you're not here to fight for your.
Who is our current vice chair?
Christie.
Christie is your current
Oh, she
vice
is.
chair.
Oh, okay.
And she's willing to serve for that position too, so she covered both bases. But it's,
Is anybody else wanting to serve as vice this year?
I'd nominate Christie as vice chair. So-
I'll second that.
okay, no others?
No others?
Go ahead and do a roll. This, you can just say aye. Or nay.
Z. Bellwolf,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Cornwell,
Aye.
Duzick,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Hale.
Aye.
Perfect.
Okay.
Painless. All right, administrative and staff reports. Staffing update?
Yeah. Well, we're going to start off with the positive stuff right up front. Just want to congratulate Carter Cassidy. He is one of our rec coordinators who has primarily runs the camp programs along with a lot of other programs. He was nominated and won the Young Professional Award at the Idaho Recreation Park Association at the beginning of March.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we're very
Very
proud of him
nice.
for that. Unfortunately, he has also given us notice, and he's moving on. And his last day will be this end of this week. So we are doing interviews. We have some interviews set up for next week for his position, but it's still open. We are still accepting applications. So if you know of anybody or anybody listening is interested in becoming a rec coordinator, please get your application in. We're also hiring for the park seasonal positions. I'm not sure how full we are, halfway, a quarter? Quarter, that's what I was afraid of. We're kind of in the same boat with the camp also. We're less than halfway there with our camp counselors. Pardon? Okay. Ticket booth is lagging behind, so we're in that mad dash. You know, obviously, we want to hire the right person for the full-time position, but we need our seasonal positions just as badly. I do know that there's an assistant camp director also open, so.
How are you
So-
tracking compared to previous years at this point in time for seasonal?
A little bit slower. You know, before we could backfill with some returning, but we're also finding that just like last year, the competition is a little bit tougher. Ticket takers, we never did completely fill it, so that limits how many days we're able to take money for the boat launch. So, and I know that just about every program we're doing, we're hiring, and it's been a scramble all year. So, but if you know of people for that, it's a great summer job. For
Do we
any of you.
reach out to the high schools and try to solicit some of
Yeah.
the older students?
Yep.
Yeah?
And that's where we get a lot of our junior counselors.
Mhm.
Some of them are old enough that we can push them into counselors.
Yep.
We reach out to the colleges. We reach out to the schools even, trying to get teachers that may be having the summer off.
Have you tried reaching out to senior centers for especially like the ticket takers, because they're able to sit, are they not? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's not
That's a good suggestion.
physically, you're not up and around all the time.
Right.
who knows, even some of the camp counselor positions, but the senior centers, I would think, might, maybe.
Yeah, we'll,
Good idea.
we'll do that. That's a
What,
good suggestion.
what's the minimum age?
Pardon?
Minimum age again?
14 ticket booth, on up, so seniors would work. And
Did you say 14 ticket booth? Huh.
They need to be able to make change.
yeah, but their hours are limited at that age. So that's the negative. Then you hit 16 for the junior. For counselors, we had a few that had been with us for a while that we took at 17, but normally that's an 18. We have to have adults with them, so we're able to adjust that. Operate the mowers, that's 18. So, but we are making adjustments. We're learning how to get people around just like everybody else, but please, if you know people, steer them our way.
Speaking of ticket taking, has the city started giving out the free parking pass for residents this year?
We haven't started that yet, have we?
Mhm.
We have?
We have.
Okay.
Then I guess we all need to go in and get our ticket.
Yep.
Thingy,
Pardon?
our ticket thingy.
Thingy.
Yeah, the thingy, the hanging chat.
If you have your old one, you can bring that one in as well, and I can just place a sticker over.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good.
Okay,
Perfect.
that's all I have
That's it for staffing?
Staffing.
All right, any commission comments before we head into executive session? Nope.
And that'll be approximately 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay. I move to enter into executive session for the following purposes pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C, subsection 1C, to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency, and further that no final action or making of any final decision shall be made in the executive session, and the executive session shall last no longer than 10 minutes.
Seconded.
Second? Yep.
You need a roll call.
Couldn't remember if we need to do that or not.
Noise,
Aye.
Dusick,
Aye.
Hale,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Cornwell,
Aye.
Z. Bellwolf.
Aye.
right, I'd like to move to enter back into regular session.
And you need to do a roll call vote on this one, too.
Okay.
I'll second that if you
Second?
need it.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Cornwell,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Dusick,
Aye?
Zibelwolf,
Aye.
Hale,
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Okay.
Perfect. And if there's nothing else from the commission, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:35.
Thank you.